As BRICS nations continue to expand their collaboration on technology and sustainable development, the role of digital innovation in sectors like transport and logistics has become increasingly vital. And at the heart of this transformation is fleet analytics, a field being revolutionized by the Internet of Things, IoT technologies. Well, joining us now on the BRICS Africa channel is Sean Hardman, Managing Executive at Macrocomm Fleet Analytics. And with years of experience in the IoT-driven fleet management across South Africa and global markets, Sean brings deep insights on how data and telematics are redefining operational efficiency, sustainability, and competitiveness. And in this conversation, we explore how IoT is impacting fleet management in South Africa and other BRICS countries, the opportunities that it presents for collaboration, and how African businesses can position themselves at the forefront of this technological wave. Sean, thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for inviting me.
So let's jump straight in. How would you describe the current state of fleet management in South Africa compared to other BRICS countries? And how would the integration of IoT technologies reshape operational models? And what are we seeing? Where are we seeing, rather, the most noticeable gains?
All right, so comparing South Africa to the rest of the BRICS countries, we're actually incredibly advanced when it comes to fleet management. It's actually South Africa is one of the global leaders in the fleet management industry. So we're pretty much at the forefront of the technology that surrounds fleet management. It's a very, very mature industry, having, it's ongoing for the last 30 years. And South Africa was one of the pioneers in, really bringing this to the fore, to the extent now that it's almost suicide to run a commercial fleet without a decent fleet management platform because it's remote eyes on your vehicle. Everything that IoT is all about is remote monitoring, irrespective of what type of sensor is on the other end there. It's what you're doing is you're being able to remote monitor and then make informed decisions based on the data that you're receiving back from that. So the impact of IoT on this sector, although the fleet management sector, is in itself a prime example of IoT. It's a remote device that is sending a whole bunch of data, does a lot of edge computing, and processes data before it sends it. That data is absolutely vital to managing a fleet. And we can count ourselves very, very lucky that we sit as high up the food chain internationally as we do in this environment.
So, with vast amounts of data being generated by telematics and IoT devices, what strategies do you recommend for organizations to effectively analyze and leverage this data and improve operational efficiency and decision making?
Well, the data it's analytics of the data is essential. It's absolutely essential. The sad reality, though, is if you take a fleet manager, their forte is most decidedly not staring into data to glean insights. So, the industry, the data analytics industry, has now embraced artificial intelligence, and so you now get services made available to fleet managers. We refer to it as fleet analytics, and very, very specifically designed around revealing actionable insights. So, things around, okay, because your driver was exceeding the speed limit, this is how much more that trip cost you than it should have cost you. So train your drivers. Um, you know, Apart from the fact that there's a safety issue, there's also a cost associated with that. So identifying costs of suboptimal driver behavior is a very, very big area. The analytics allow guys to see, to detect unauthorized usage, also a massive expense that is reduced. So because of how readily available processing power is and the ability to run that through an analytics engine, these services that are being offered, these fleet analytics services, have now become a reality in terms of pricing, and the guys will instantly see a return on investment. That's effectively what it boils down to. So embrace AI and embrace analytics specialists. That's basically the message that needs to get out to, and is very, very fast getting out to fleet owners by and large.
So South African fleets operate in a fairly unique socio-economic infrastructure environment, and I wonder what some of the key local challenges are in implementing IoT solutions here, especially when you compare to international standards and some of the bigger BRICS countries.
Okay, so we're blessed with a great communications infrastructure. And that was born out of the lack of infrastructure, and then how the cellular industry, the whole GSM-based communications industry came into this country and spread to the extent that there's such wide coverage that that has really, really enabled IoT. So let's take America, for example. They, it took them about nearly 10 years to catch up with the type of GSM coverage that South Africa has. And they were really slow adopters because they had such a solid landline and fiber infrastructure. So we benefited from that. So in terms of usage, no challenges really. Yes, there are some areas that don't have coverage. Only 98% of South African soil is covered. But the units cater for that. They will buffer that information, and as soon as they have connectivity again, they'll send that information through. So the only real challenge is equipment infrastructure. It is the Achilles heel of the fleet management sector. But with the advent of mobile fitment specialists, now the downtime is reduced to mostly under an hour. So, and they will go out to site and fit. So that is the Achilles heel. It remains the Achilles heel, but it is the same for any other country in the world. So we're, again, benefiting from a very, very mature industry. We're the least impacted of the BRICS countries, I would say.
The BRICS grouping has placed increasing importance on sustainability. I wonder, in what ways can IoT and fleet analytics contribute to greener transport systems across BRICS nations, and particularly here in South Africa? I don't know if you have some real world cases where either locally or internationally where these kinds of technologies can contribute to a greener and sustainable environment.
Yes, absolutely. And the whole thing about analyzing the data behind a fleet, the first thing is we're striving is optimize that fleet usage. Now, just in the optimization of fleet usage, the knock-on effect is a reduction in carbon emissions because if that vehicle is being used optimally, there's no wasted trips. There's no, everything is correctly monitored. You're not directly related to the cost reductions that the fleet owners are benefiting from is a reduced carbon footprint. And there's a staggering amount of carbon is pumped into the air by internal combustion engines. And it's a very, very real concern. So in monitoring this and then being able to prove that you, as a conscientious fleet manager, have actually reduced your carbon emissions, all of a sudden carbon credits come into play. Because with being able to prove that, you're going to get the carbon credits. Those are tradable. That's just about as good as any currency. So there is a direct impact through monitoring the fleet to make sure that it's used optimally. And, the single biggest cost of running a fleet is the fuel that goes into that fleet. So, there's massive striving towards reducing fuel consumption and, of course, the benefits of a greener environment as far as that is concerned. And, to the point where financial institutions are jumping in and saying to the big fleets that they're financing, guys, you have to be very, very critically aware of your carbon footprint. And in some instances, refusing to finance people because their carbon footprint is just off the charts.
So data is often called the new oil, and given the massive volumes that are generated by telematics devices, what practical steps should companies take to turn this data into usable insights? And I wonder if there's also potential for cross-country data collaboration and benchmarking even.
Well, yes. Okay, so the it's key to be able to analyze this data and glean actionable insights from it. And data analytics is a science. And we to take an example, one of the biggest logistics companies in South Africa has some 30 people employed purely to analyze their data. And yet we can take a fleet of that size, run it through the analytics engine, run that data through the analytics engine in, well, basically 14 man days of work is done in a second. So, that's where the analysis really, really kicks in. And best to go down the route of specialist analysts. And, a data analytics company that is worth its salt will be engaging the fleet owners on what their specific pain points are so that they can tweak the analysis to be looking out for exactly what these guys' pain points are. So, and data is the new oil.
So finally, looking ahead, what do you believe will be the next significant advancements in IoT telematics within fleet management, and how do companies adapt to these changes to remain competitive?
Well, okay, so the next advancement, without a doubt, is video. We're very, very sophisticated with everything that we can monitor via straight telematics and what have you. But aside from the obvious advantage of video, where now you've got video footage of an incident for argument's sake, the the systems now have artificial intelligence embedded. The video systems have artificial intelligence embedded in the cameras, so much so that they can detect fatigue. It can detect distraction, lack of a seatbelt, smoking. And so you've got this artificial intelligence behind video monitoring, and then events-based storage of video. So for argument's sake, a harsh break is detected, and it will automatically then pump that record, however many seconds either side of that event into the cloud, so that there's a permanent record of that off of the unit that is sitting inside there. So without a doubt, video is the very, very next thing, and it's becoming affordable because that was the barrier to entry. They were incredibly expensive systems. But again, where we benefit from a really, really well matured industry, it's industry standard to offer a 36-month rental option on these things, which then really makes it not an operational expense as opposed to well, capex as opex as opposed to capex, and it now becomes viable for everybody to do that. And now you've got a shift, that a fundamental shift in the fleet management industry away from how it initially was just considered to be remote policing. Everything now is about safety. Safety of the driver, safety of passengers where that is, where passengers are relevant, safety of other road users. So everything is going around safety and security. Security of the asset, safety of any and every person that may be involved. And so this has been made possible because of such a development, the massive development that has taken place within IoT and telematics over the last 15 years. It's gone in leaps and bounds.
Sean Hardman, Managing Executive of Macrocomm Fleet Analytics. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the BRICS Africa channel.
Thank you, Peter.